Hi, once again, great to have you with us. This is Leading Edge. I'm your host, Jeff Smith. If you've ever worked somewhere and thought, why does this process take so long? Or why are we using 3 systems to do one job? Well, you're not alone. Across Northwest Ohio, businesses are trying to grow, they're trying to hire, trying to compete. But sometimes the biggest obstacles aren't markets or customers, they're internal systems, disconnected technology, and workflows that quietly cost companies money and employees morale. My guest today says those problems are more common than you might think and more fixable than most people might realize. Joining us today is Ben Klaiber. He is he's a principal workflow and experience architect at MMWB Incorporated here in Toledo. Ben works with organizations to fix broken workflows, align technology, and improve performance from the inside out. Ben, good to have you here. We appreciate it being on Leading Edge. Awesome stuff that you were sending to me saying, okay, and I don't want people to feel like this is like Star Trek number 1, 2, 3, and 4 the last couple of weeks, but we have had a succession of shows that all kind of yell at the same volume. They are all singing the same note. And you reached out to me and said, these shows talking about what's lacking in Northwest Ohio have spoken to me too. What did you hear?
What I heard most over and over was being inches from success and just needing the closing gap thinking.
Yeah.
A lot of the organizations that are available often overshoot the problems that we're really looking for, or they're not really helping people close the gap to paying customers.
Okay. So you heard Darren Moore started this whole thing off for me with a letter to the editor to the Toledo Blade saying that we're on the clock right now. He has a family he brought back to Toledo. He said he was taking a bet on Toledo, on the Glass City by moving back here. However, he said we've got 2 years. That was his clock. Do you agree?
I think everybody has
because he said something's got to pop here pretty soon.
Oh, absolutely. Something that Chris, Gene also talked about as well.
Chris Eischen with Toledo Tech Loft and Gene Dom, who was in Monroe, Michigan, and started a startup there that works with DTE and Ford Motor Company.
Right, and something that we've all said was, at some point we all wanted to leave this area for years.
Even you?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
But you grew up here.
Yep, and we all stayed for the same reason, for family.
Okay.
That was absolutely, or a relationship family.
Once the roots are there,
the roots,
hard to pull
the roots, absolutely.
Yeah.
But here's something that's really cool. Even out of nowhere, after all these years of looking at, again, out west, Chris Eischen said if he was anywhere else, he would have been a success already.
Right.
I saw the same thing. It is very hard when you're talking tech in this area. It is very hard to get the support and the roots that you need that will close the gap, because it's all about networking. Networking is the most powerful thing in the world. You can have the greatest product out there, but if you're not connected to the right people who can buy it, you're dead in the water.
But this conversation goes beyond tech, does it not?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. I would say that it's not only a cultural thing, it's a overcoming of negativity. The city does have a tremendous amount, I would say, of latent negativity, but in things like our Glass City Park project and in Tech Loft, I see a hope, and I see people who are of like minds starting to become, you mentioned this earlier when you talked about the different voices. All the voices are starting to become a chorus.
Yeah.
And that's what it needs.
Yeah.
It's a matter of bringing the people together for the right reasons. It's a matter of tying the loose ends in a lot of cases. And most importantly, it's about making these companies economically viable. When he says 2 years, he's put a plan, and I'm no stranger to family businesses. That was exactly what I heard with every business. We're putting X amount into it, and we're going to give it X amount of time.
What do you do specifically in your business, and where have the limitations been?
The limitations for my business are you have to have the scale for these kind of improvements to matter, to give you that kind of result. So if you're saving somebody $100 or $300 on an order, it matters if they're doing 300 of those orders that would have had that problem versus if they're a lower scale. It also matters the size of the boardroom, the length of decision. If it's going to take a year and multiple pipelines, the cost for you being involved that long starts to exceed the value. So you end up with a lot of those companies that don't want to make the change. So we focus on the 1 to 5 million. We focus on people who are selling products at a high speed, usually internet. A lot of internet. Maybe they do have some retail presence.
And for those people who are watching, those businesses exist in Toledo.
Oh, absolutely. Toledo.
Because I think and I found this out over the last couple of weeks, Ben, is just there's this mindset. I grew up here. I've been here all my life. So it's one of those things. We know what got us here. And we know those established connections still exist. But even Jean said to me last week, she said, even those big companies have issues. And those issues need solutions.
Oh, absolutely. And she's developed a great solution for that particular band, hands down. I think that companies that are smaller, that couldn't afford a whole new rebuild or a whole nother system in that way, can benefit from a much more targeted, smaller approach. I'm working directly with their existing infrastructure. So they're not paying new developers, new team members. I'm taking their existing marketing team and solving all kinds of things.
We've got about a minute. What is there apathy in town? Is there a burnout that might, or a burn rate, I think, that you referred to? Give me about 45 seconds before we go to our first break.
I'd say that so many companies hitting their burn rate and crashing and burning has caused a lot of burnout. There's a lot of promises and there's not a lot of follow through for companies, and they need support at an earlier stage so that they can stay in the game long enough to deliver the wins for this hometown.
And when you say a lot of promises coming from where? Coming from who?
Everywhere. Everybody says we're going to have this initiative, it's going to do those results. The problem is no one's following through to ensure those metrics.
Or maybe they don't know how to follow through. I want to dive more into that when we come back. Stay right there. Leading Edge continues. Ben Klaiber's with us. When we come back, what is really holding some small businesses in Northwest Ohio back? We've talked about that a little bit, why the problem may not be money or customers or even the economy.
Thank you.
Ben Klaiber with Making My World Better, MMWB Incorporated here in Toledo. Making organizations improve workflow is one of the things we were talking about. You focus on. And that is something that has come up again and again the last couple of weeks, Ben, is just specifically the connecting points that do or don't exist for small businesses in Toledo. And they're thirsty. They're in the desert. They're looking for that drink of water.
Oh, absolutely. And sometimes, think of it as something as simple. You were talking about how I saw my experience when Chris was talking, the fact that he was trying to get people to connect him with not just the environment, but also people who could mentor him, but also people who might have the finances, in terms of maybe they do need short-term
capital.
Maybe the capital. Because that's also something that was brought up originally. I think that's very true. We have we have no capital investment funds here where the city is really driving towards that. In other cities, you think about like China, and you have a attitude from the government of we will do everything possible to ensure your success because your success is our success. And we have much more of a bootstraps on your own.
I don't think we want to get to the point of a communist government.
No, we're not saying that. We're not saying that, of course. But what we are saying is, in terms of capitalism, which is what we want and what we like, here we could be doing more to ensure that our companies are getting a better starting gate, because that's what will keep them alive long enough for them to succeed.
Let's lay out a game plan for the city of Toledo in 2026 and even the greater Lucas County area. What if you're laying out the connecting points, what needs to happen? Who needs to be at that table? Is that fair?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. It's more than fair, I would say. I think that we need to establish a hub, and that hub can be on any one of those levels.
What does that mean?
A hub is where the answer isn't you need to go here or there to get your answers. The answer is we're going to figure out who you need to talk with.
Give me your
and get you
BMV.
connected.
Give me your BMV example you gave me before we came.
Oh,
out here
absolutely.
today.
BMV is a perfect example. Used to be where you would wait through a long line, just like we do today as a business. You don't know which permits you need. You don't need this. You don't know who's going to help you with whether it be infrastructure, something as simple as podcasting, which could be crucial right now for reaching an audience. That's where TechLoft is suddenly giving that to them, where here's a whole infrastructure for podcasting.
Yeah.
Here's a whole infrastructure will help you with targeted Facebook ads that can get you business. There was a meeting just the other day.
But I don't want to get you off on another tangent.
Okay.
Just I want you to focus in on what we said at the BMV and the question they ask you,
the question
and
they
how that changed the dynamic for you.
Yes, the question they ask you now is, what do you want to accomplish? What do you need to accomplish? Then,
versus what they used to ask.
yes, which is simply, what are you here to do? Which you may think you need to do A and B, but really you needed A, B, C, and D. And when you're asking, what do you need to accomplish? And the person responding is somebody who understands that you needed A, B, C, and D. Then they're asking, let me see your documents. Let me make sure you have everything you need. And then take you to the next level.
They lead you to that next step.
They lead you.
Okay.
And we could be starting that anywhere, whether we're going at a business license, point where you're just putting the pointers there.
Yeah.
Or whether you're talking about, okay, let's go to something like the TechLoft.
Is that where the system is failing? People like Chris.
I think it's a big part of it.
Okay.
I don't think that there's any one failure. I think what's happening is so many cracks are happening. And if it's like a car with a damaged tire, and it's fine when you're just going along slowly, but we need them to get on the highway.
Yeah.
And that's where they start going.
Another thing that resonated with you, Jean was talking about actually writing a check back to a grant that she received because she said, I don't need their money. I don't need their loan. Talk about that.
I identify with that 100%.
Yeah.
I'm at exactly that same point where all I need is the clients to supply and make the business completely...
A foot in the door.
A foot in the door. A foot in the door. And one of the points that's been made by a couple of different people, Darren, I think, really drove it home, which was how many people he spoke to that could have easily picked up the phone and networked you with, gotten you a meeting that you couldn't have got on your own, and it would have shortened his cycle by 6 months, 8 months. Jean said exactly the same thing. In fact, the crucial difference between her being this incredible success and that was one person who took the call, let her in the door, and got her the meeting.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah. As we go forward and as we kind of put a bow on this, Ben, and I want to very much appreciate your insight talking about this today. You were inspired by what you heard. Is that inspiration still there? Because you said the bones to Toledo exist. The bones are good.
I don't think there's anything inherently that's in, say, Ann Arbor versus Toledo.
But I've heard a lot of people reference the Ann Arbors, the Austins, and why aren't we there? I mean, Chris even said last week or a couple of weeks ago, he said, if I open up the TechLoft in Columbus or Cleveland,
absolutely,
it's hugely successful.
Now, what I was saying is, I don't think that they have anything we don't.
Okay.
That bones.
Yes.
In terms of bones. What we can do is emulate their culture. And it is a can-do culture. It is a let me solve your problem culture, not a I want to stand at third base and high-five you as you go to home.
Is it reliant
different thinking.
On the long-established companies here in town? Is it more important to embrace the new? Both. I'll give you both as an answer.
I would
all of the
absolutely say
above
both.
as well.
I would say there is definitely an element of raising the ladder behind them, and I think we could address that. And I think that we could get business leaders. There's a sense of pride in Toledo that has come back. You see from Dean Davis's artwork, it moves you.
Yeah.
I've seen photos. There's a photographer, Marcus, that has photographs of Toledo that move my spirit, and I look at it, and there's such a pride.
Yeah.
I'm like, we can do that,
going.
and we can use that civic pride and get these people to help extend that ladder, reach a level, and lift us up.
Ben, appreciate it. Great insight. Great to have you here. We'll be back right after this. Stay with us. Welcome back. As we look for stories to cover each week, we always try to find the stuff that really screams community. And if you've ever been through downtown Rossford, there's a cohesion among the business community, so much so they might just borrow a cup of flour from each other. I had the chance this week to talk with Danny's owner, Brad Morrison, and Moe's owner, Joe Harpo Haddad, about the camaraderie and where that all started.
I'm the new kid on the block, obviously. Been going into Moe's for longer than I want to count. Rossford's a great town. I'm an Oregon guy, but coached at Rossford, and it's just a little neat piece of Americana. And it's a weird story how I bought the bar, kind of on a whim, but it's you do have that kind of little bit of Main Street America there, and everybody gets along. There's a few people that have fun with some negativity, but that's any community. But that it's just an amazing town, and we're drawing people from everywhere, and we always have. I mean, with Moe's and Reds, and used to be Billy V's. I mean, those guys have been drawing people for decades. So
Joe, how long you been doing this?
33 years,
and
34 years, somewhere in it.
And the name is, the name is synonymous with Rossford. But I guess just you touch on the cohesion element for me. And what do you see as far as the business owners? Because owning a restaurant, owning a bar, not easy.
No, it's not. I told Brad that when he wanted to buy Danny's, he asked me, should I buy Danny's? I told him no. I thought he was nuts. And then after he bought it, he says, yeah, I see what you mean. So, but no, it's, I've had it 33 years. I bought it from Moman Arson. He bought it from his uncle, John Halefka, who was actually related to Danny's. So it's always been in the family. So Mo is my brother-in-law. That's how we got to know each other. And that's about it on that part.
People know you as Harpo. Where did that start?
That started back in the paper station days when I was a paper boy. We used to have places where you go pick up your papers, and we'd be waiting for them. There'd be like 20 guys waiting for papers, and everybody had a nickname. And I had a horn on my bike, curly hair.
Harpo Marks.
Yep, that's where it came from. Yep, Dave Jones. It used to be the city marketer. He's the one that named me that.
Were there friendships before there was competition? Is there any competition?
I don't think there's competition. I think we all just feed off each other, personally.
How so? Explain that a little bit for our audience.
Well, when they get so busy down the street and they can't get a seat right away, they'll stop down here and eat, and then go back and listen to the band, which is fine with me. But it works out well, I think, between the two of us.
It's a business traffic concept where I use it all the time. Lowe's and Home Depot usually build within a mile of each other. A lot of people think you want to be isolated and have everybody yourself. And I did talk to Harpo before I did this, and he did tell me not to do it. And every time I pass him in the alley during the day, I've usually ask him why he didn't hit me with a 2x4. But no, you want foot traffic. People want to park their car and walk. They don't want to have to travel from place to place. And you get the best of all worlds there on Main Street. We got Moe's is iconic, obviously, and our place. We kind of tried to make it into an entertainment venue for all ages and kind of nostalgic. And then Reds has got that that pub. I love going to Moe's and Reds and the other places in town for lunch just to get away and a little more peace and quiet. So it's something for everybody. Lots of foot traffic.
You guys show up for each other during the course of the week, during weekends. Give me an example of that, Mo. I'll take Harpo's word first here.
Well, when we had the Battle of the Bands, I went to all the bars to check all the bands out, and it was fun. And then I think Xavier did the same thing, and John and Brad. It was kind of cool. It was We just all support each other. That's all. It was fun. That's one way we do it.
Yeah.
And then, I'll stop if there's a good band down the street. I'll stop down and just have a couple of drinks with Neil and enjoy the band and hear them. Because I'm not big enough. I could have a band here, but my seating's only like 92, and where Brad seats 500. It's a big difference.
I like Harpo's hot dogs better, and I like Red's hamburgers better than mine. It's something different, but no, I mean, it's just, if you need a cup of flour, hey, go in there and get it. That's how it is. And just, it's funny because Harpo will attest to this, and probably John will, and Xavier, when we walk into Moe's, like if I walk into Moe's or I walk into Red's or Cinco or any of those places downtown, everybody looks at you like, what are you doing here? Like, the enemy, and the people don't understand the concept of us working together and just drawing people downtown. But that's, I've been to an awards ceremony with Harpo. They come to our Christmas party. I mean, this is deeper than the restaurant business. For us, it's a friendship and just being supportive of each other. If I knew it was going to be a competition, I wouldn't have thought twice about buying that place.
Guys, thanks for talking to me this week. A final word right after this. Once again, we hope you have enjoyed this episode of Leading Edge. If you want to reach us, it's easy. Send us an email. It's leadingedge, all one word, at WTOL.com. Thanks for joining us. Until next time, I'm Jeff Smith. Listen, learn, and lead.